the biggest piece before even just managing the risk level?
I'm joined today by MYokoyama. She is head of business operations with Shire. Mika, welcome.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Tell me a little bit about Shire.
Shire is a rare disease company. We see ourselves as an advocate of the 350 million people around the world with rare disease, where it takes about 5 years for them to usually discover that they have a certain illness or a disease, and we support patients with immune deficiency, hemophilia, neural-related diseases, and a variety of other rare diseases that I think many of us may not be aware of.
What an interesting but very important niche to be in. That being the case, what were some of the challenges that you faced that led you to conclude that you needed some kind of technology to help in your risk management efforts?
I think with any company, risk is definitely a priority. For anybody, they want to ensure there's continuity of supply to their patients or to their customers. The hardest part, though, is trying to get that singular vision across the company, that there's one view of what risk means, there's one way of prioritizing it, creating a governance, and getting everybody to really share and collaborate across the organization. So I think that was definitely the hardest component, and to find what is the tool or avenue to get that visibility and a platform for that collaboration. And so I think that's where we realized that we need to leverage technology to allow us to share information in real time, as well as to make it easy for people to update information and to really get clear, accurate information and updates from suppliers as well on what's going on.
So just getting everybody on the same page, sounds like it was the initial challenge, right?
Yes.
Other than that, what other kinds of early problems did you have to encounter in terms of implementing this technology? Was there anything that, any obstacles or any interesting challenges that you faced?
I think like any other company, we all have several priorities. We have a lot of different projects going on, and I think the hardest part for us was the process of getting our suppliers into a tool and getting all the accurate information, getting a full list of all the material that we want to evaluate and put through the risk tool. So for us, it was trying to reprioritize everybody's workload and telling them, hey, you know what? I know you have this full list, but here's the long-term benefit by putting this as a priority for your list of projects. And can you please make sure that you collaborate with our suppliers? Can you please make sure you collaborate with this person, pulling in all the information and uploading all the data into the tool? So the data component is definitely a big hurdle for us. It took a lot of time to get that into the system and to get it from our suppliers.
So did the suppliers line up? Were they willing to go along with this, or did it take some effort in order to get them on board?
So I think with any other company, we had thousands of SKUs, thousands of raw materials, and for the suppliers, it definitely helped if they were already using the RESLNC tool, because it made it easier for them to transition information. They knew what the program was about. They were willing to work with us in getting that information in. But if they were unaware of the tool, then it did take some time on getting them to provide that information, to understand who in that company is the right person to go to with regards to gathering that information from.
How long a period of time are we talking about in terms of implementation, from the moment you realized that you needed this effort to the moment where you feel, I know you're never finished with it, but the moment where you felt like you had things sort of in place?
So for us, we're doing it in multi-phases. So in phase one, I think was where we had the longest learning curve. It took us anywhere from 6 to 8 months to actually get everything in the system. And I don't think that's ideal. We have about 1,200 locations finally mapped out of all of our suppliers' manufacturing sites. But I don't think it should have taken 8 months. I think for us in phase two, what we're doing better is we're doing better socialization of what we're trying to do. We're getting the prioritization of each involved individual realigned so that when we do finally roll out phase two, hopefully we can get it done within 3 months.
So based on the fact you said it shouldn't have taken as long as it did, but it did, and that would mean that you would have some lessons for the rest of us as to how to avoid it if other companies wanted to replicate your effort. What would be some of those lessons to those companies?
So one of the biggest lesson I think is just socializing your plan very clearly across the organization and with your suppliers, and having alignment on timing, understanding what difficulties the suppliers may have in getting you the information that you need, and getting all of that worked out before you fully rolled it out. And once you have it rolled out, it should go up much smoother.
What about benefits in the area of, for instance, insurance? Does that help you that you have this in place, that you're able to achieve lower insurance costs?
So I think when it comes to insurance, it's one of those areas where once you've matured a little bit more and you can have some good data, and RESLNC's also a great partner in helping you kind of assess your risk status as a company, what improvements you've been making to build a case on, hey, here you go, insurance company, this is what we're doing to mitigate risk, to have visibility around risk. Can you see if there's a way to reduce the insurance cost? I think once you're mature enough to do that, you can go ahead. But for us, we're not quite there yet. We're still in the building phase where we're trying to say, hey, this is our baseline. This is where we started. And we're keeping record of all of that so that when we get to that phase of talking to an insurance company of, hey, here's what we've done, we can show them here's the before and now here's the after, so then they can really see the benefit of our efforts.
The nature of risk changes from year to year, if in fact maybe even day to day sometimes. So how do you keep your antenna up to understand how you have to adjust your own risk efforts to mirror what the actual risks of the moment are and how they're changing?
I think the biggest piece before even just managing the risk that comes up is managing the expectations of senior leadership. Just because an event happened and you were impacted, it doesn't mean that you didn't have a mature risk program, or it doesn't mean that the team didn't do a good job. There's only so much that you can control. But the other piece, I think, is understanding what are you going to do when something does happen? How do you ensure that what one event happens does not completely diminish all the efforts or change the timeline of other projects, that it doesn't change your priorities? So I think that's where, for us, the governance structure really helped out, because we have a clear governance where people agreed this is our focus for this year. And then if an event does happen, we can bring it up to the governance to reevaluate and say, do we want to deprioritize a risk that we're working on? If yes, which one do we take off the list and put on hold, so that we're all in alignment? Otherwise, what happens is you'll never really close out a risk, because it may be constantly moved, or people may be constantly losing focus on what to work on. So by having this governance, evaluating, okay, this event happened, are we impacted? Do we need to do something, yes or no? And then closing it, I think helps in making sure that you have the right risks managed on an annual basis, and that events aren't throwing off what your long-term project is for the company.
So what is your biggest concern in 2018 and looking forward in terms of supply chain risk? Where are you putting your efforts, and where are you thinking that the biggest risk might be arising in the months and years to come?
So for us, within the biotech industry, one of the biggest is around capacity of our suppliers to support our growth. So we have certain aggressive growth projections with certain product lines, and we need to make sure that suppliers also are projecting to grow their manufacturing capacity at the same rate. Another big area is definitely around security and serialization, and making sure that we know where our product is and that there isn't any counterfeiting. So we have to be aware of countries where counterfeiting is high. Other areas would be, for example, Brexit, and understanding what does that mean when we distribute our product to our patients, and also from the supplier side. We have some manufacturers in the UK area, so does that mean we have to change our manufacturing lead time? So there's a long list of risks that we're constantly worried about. I think the ones I listed are kind of the big ones. And then there are the obvious ones where you just don't know where you might find a component that just is getting worn out, and then it impacts the manufacturing site. So we're constantly looking at technology also to evaluate the use of specific components. Does it look like it's wearing out? So there's a variety of risks. There's some that, you know, we can predict and some we can't.
Well, we wish you all the best in what is a very vital industry that you're involved in. MYokoyama, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with us, telling us a little bit about Shire, your supply chain risk concerns, and how you're addressing the whole issue of supply chain risk today. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with MYokoyama of Shire. Thank you very much for watching.